I believe we live in a created world where sight and color is something we take for granted too often.
Because what if our world looked like this? Or even like this? You see, and on this journey to become a professional videographer, I've learned full well the importance of color and visual in films. In the last video, I talked about the importance of audio and how music can make up about 40% of your video. But what about color? Now, I'm someone who's really feeling oriented, someone who's really affected by my surroundings, in good ways and in bad ways. And while I wouldn't label myself as having winter depression, I still feel the effects of those colder, darker months, where darkness or a lack of light can dramatically affect my overall mood and emotions. And the same is true in film and in movies, where emotions are brought out depending on what our eyes are seeing happening on the screen. And now, it wasn't until 1902 where the first film in color was produced by none other than Thomas Edison, the guy who created the first light bulb. But the mainstream American people didn't get their first color TVs till around 1954. And I mean, it's crazy to think that films before that always looked like this. But as TVs and projectors were able to display color better, companies got really good at using color in their stories to really affect our emotions, to really drive their stories forward while just using the colors on the screen. Now let's take a look at some of these movies that have the best use of color in their films. But before I show them to you, note that they are multi-million-dollar companies, and it is people's jobs inside of these companies to understand color and how they can use it to captivate our emotions as viewers. You see, in movies like Grand Budapest Hotel or The Matrix have stark colors that pop out to us audience members. But I felt as though they were a bit too complex to analyze, so I present to you Mad Max Fury Road, a post-apocalyptic film where water is the most valuable resources and people will do anything to get it, even fighting to the death for it. And I don't want us to focus on the film at all, because it is a bit graphic and that's not what I'm trying to achieve. But I think that the producers of this film use colors incredibly to make the viewing experience way better for us. And now, to understand the boldness and effectiveness of the director's choices, I looked into other post-apocalyptic films. And to give you a bit of context, prior to the release of Mad Max, I am horrible at saying this word. I can't say it, you know what I mean. Most of these films in this category look like this, like the movie The Book of Eli. It uses a little bit more washed out tones and desaturation to emphasize its story, and it really works in this case. But when director George Miller made Mad Max Fury Road, he decided to keep heavy saturation, a vibrant color palette, which works just so beautifully. And now, to see how it works to display different emotions goes as the following. During the day, the film is filled with hot colors, like bright reds or yellows, that make you feel the heat and the danger of the desert. At night, the colors turn a bit cooler, with blues and silvers, making you feel calmer and more peaceful. The change in colors helps you to feel the difference between the wild, crazier parts of the movies and the quieter, more emotional parts of the movies. And by using this combination of warm and cool colors, Mad Max Fury Road creates a visual experience that's not only eye-catching, but also emotionally engaging, guiding the viewer's feelings through the pace and intensity of this film. Yes, but we're YouTubers and beginner filmmakers here, and these movie companies have budgets of over $100 million. So how can we use color effectively in our low budget films? Well, if you don't know, there is a way to use color effectively as a low budget filmmaker. And it's kind of like planning a wedding or taking an exam where you're both the teacher and the student. Let's start with prep study plan. Now, preparation. This part is crucial, honestly, with anything. Imagine showing up to your wedding and there was no chairs to sit in when you're about to walk down the aisle. You never even tested the speakers to make sure they work, and you forgot your suit at the dry cleaners. Or you show up to your exam and you forgot your paper and pen, or you didn't even study at all for the test you're gonna take. Well, the same is true when setting up to use color effectively in your videos. Now, let's say I wanted to portray a happy emotion through my video, but I didn't even think about prepping the colors that I'm gonna use. I just clicked record with bad lighting, a dark shirt on, and maybe even sitting in a dark corner. But if I planned and used maybe a color like green or yellow, had my lighting be very warm, and had a really fun, happy background, I have succeeded in preparing for shooting my video before I even hit record. Now, number 2 is execute, getting married, and taking the test. Now it's time to walk down the aisle, take out your pen and write the test, and for us videographers, click record. Does this look good to you? Or this? Probably not. Okay, let's get back to normal. And the biggest key to shooting your video is gonna be your white balance when it comes to color. And honestly, it's pretty simple, but it makes such a big difference. And the advice that I would give to you is use your camera's built-in settings where it's either under lighting, outside, cloudy day. But if you really wanna get good and get perfect white balance, then I recommend going on Amazon and buying a white balance sheet. And you can hold it up to your screen, just like a white piece of paper, and then you can set your white balance to a white balance setter. And that's it. You might think that this part is easy, but I mean, you've already done so much work in preparing your shot that you're already on the right track to having a successful shoot. And now the last step that I'm not looking forward to much, and it's post-production, saying your vows and handing in your exam. And I honestly don't feel too qualified to talk about this yet, but here's my best shot. Just like at a wedding where everyone's already in the seat, the bride and groom have walked down the aisle, and now they've just gotten their papers out to say their vows. It's the part where you share with everyone why you truly love this other person and why you want to spend the rest of your life with them. And in terms of color in your videos, color grading is this. All the prep and execution has already happened, but now it's time for the part where you can turn something okay into something incredible. And if I'm being honest, it's the part that I dread the most. And now we could spend a whole video talking about color nodes, adjusting skin tones, and just so much more. People's professional job is to be what's called a colorist, where you do post-production color grading. But like I said, I don't feel qualified enough to give you good advice. So I've linked down below some incredible color grading YouTubers so you can learn the most effective way. On this journey to become a videographer, this one topic has been such a challenge for me. And I honestly need to learn a lot more about color and especially post-production color grading. But if a challenge isn't hard, I don't think you truly learned something. I know soon I can create incredible videos with engaging color grading and the effective use of color, because I know the significance in film and how color grading can really make or break what's being displayed on the screen. And also in life, with thinking about color a lot this last week, I really don't ever want to take my sight for granted. We are born into such a beautifully created world. So as I end this video, I want you to take away that color is so important in your videos, but to never take for granted the sight that you are given. And again, I'll see you in the next one.